Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from BidAmount.com, and today is Friday, May 5th, 2017. And as always, we'll take a look back at last week's eBay results, talk about some things that are going on in the world of antiques and Asian art. One of the things we wanted to point out this week was we've added something to the website, is this on the homepage, need help buying on eBay. And if you click on it, it's going to bring you over to this page. And it mentions something that we've been doing for years for people who buy on eBay. They often send us emails and they say, gee, this is the item number. What do you think of it? Or, the seller says it's 18th century. Do you think it is? Do you think it isn't? We're happy to answer these kinds of emails. So finally, somebody around here said, gee, why don't you just put it on the website? And let people know that come to the videos or get the newsletter. They can do that. We have a few minor rules. Don't send us 50 things. Send a couple and ask a question. What it is that specifically you're curious about, and we're happy to answer. Sometimes we send back links to other things that we know are on eBay currently that are comparable, or that you might find as interesting also, that you can do some comparing. So it's just a thought. If you want to try it, go ahead. We're happy to hear from people. We get emails every day from people. And here's last week's newsletter. It did pretty well. There were some nice things on here. We've laid out the catalog quite a bit differently, as many of you noticed. And so far, everybody likes it this way. We were able to add more things and target more specifically items while excluding other items. Sometimes sellers have one or two good things, and they have a lot of junk too, as you all know. So we're trying to keep it a little more specific in general. All right, so let's go see how things did. First up is this. This was a really nice piece of Cloisonne raised enamel silver by Ondo, a Japanese piece. It was a fixed item, a fixed price item. It was a buy it now for around $600. And one of our subscribers saw it, clicked on it, contacted the buyer, and he ended up buying it for a heck of a lot less than what the buyer was asking. I think he got about a third off on it. So don't be afraid to make offers. Even if they don't have a make offer button, you can always hit the contact button and say to them, would you be willing to take a little less and see what happens. A lot of sellers do that, and sellers are always happy to hear from you as long as you're not insulting with your offers. This one was listed at $600, and I think it went for about $450, $475. So that was a nice buy. And this was a teapot that we saw last week. We put it in the newsletter. This is an enameled Yixing teapot, as most of you know. And these generally bring a lot of money. And with inscriptions, they bring a bit more. But even the ones that are just decorated all the way around with landscapes tend to do very, very well. Here's a picture of the bottom of it. It's a late 19th, early 20th century example. Nice piece. I couldn't see too much wrong with it. It had some minor chips and nicks and things like that. But at any rate, it only went for $301. Sort of a mystery to me. We've had these sell for $4,000 or $5,000. And here's another mystery that was sold. It was also a Yixing lined pewter teapot with jade handles, and as a lot of you know, these can bring thousands. We've had them sell for 10, 12,000. And this one, for some reason, went for almost nothing. $261. I don't know where everybody was, but it seems like that was an awfully good buy. And because here's another one that we had. It was a Melon form. Now, it was inscribed. Inscriptions have a big impact on value, as you all know. But this was nicely done, a 19th century one, and a very desirable 18th century form, very nice looking. And it brought a bit more. It brought over $2,000. But that kind of teapot we've seen sell for $5,000 to $8,000. So maybe there's a softening in the Yixing teapot market. Who knows? All right. And we had this brush pot in the newsletter last week. This was a really nice 18th century, deeply carved bamboo brush pot. Very nice quality, beautifully done, nice patina on it, nice old surface on it. There it is. There's some men sitting around a table playing Go. There's another fellow coming up the steps to the side. It had a few minor losses here and there, and the seller was very careful to point them all out. You can see them. They're tiny, tiny areas of rubbing. He almost overdid it. And I love the cloud band around the mouth of it. It was a very lovely very lovely brush pot rather. And for the scholars table, it did really well. It brought $7,300, which I don't think was overpaying for it. Art Asia 2 had it. It was a nice example. And somebody got a good brush pot. There was also this. Another one of these big Wanli plates is turning up. This is a charger. It's 36 centimeters, so about 14 inches in diameter. It was in very nice condition. Had a good decoration on it, good central scene. Very classic layout. Nothing unusual about the layout. Just a nice, clean example. And it brought $1,470. Agent Legends had this. He's a seller over in the Netherlands where there's quite a bit of Wanli material. It's always a good idea to keep an eye on those folks. And another seller had this. This is a miniature transitional period jar. And pay attention to this because these turn up in junk shops and group shops occasionally, especially here in New England. And they'll put them on a shelf with some other things because the people don't think they're very old. The transitional period, though. Here's what the bottom of it looks like. Here's a side shot of the foot rim, that little iron oxide line on there. Some of these were plucked out of shipwrecks a few years ago, but they're very desirable, and they're very small. This is only a couple inches tall, so keep your eyes peeled for these. This one went for $413. Not that many years ago, I bought one in a shop. I think I paid $10 for it. They had it listed as Japanese, which is understandable, I suppose. And then there's this. This was the Chinese dragon robe that was up. Rather unusual, has sort of an abbreviated wave band across the lower part of the front. It was in fairly good condition from what I could see, though the colors in the layout weren't terribly strong in defining the robe. Maybe in person it looked a good bit different, but it didn't seem to have a lot of contrast. Here's a detail of it. It's sort of all blended together, but very nice, elegant gold ground on it. And it was a 19th century robe. It's an informal one, but nice. And brought $2,338, $2,438, so it's a good price. And there was this. I like peaking enamels, and this was a very nice Famille Rose or Famille June peaking enamel platter with these nice cartouche, sort of a lotused out form cartouche on the front with a landscape depicting goats and rams walking around. Rather charming. And it was in nice condition. Enamels have to be in good condition to bring any money at all. This one had a few cracks on the bottom, probably because it was used as a planter, but these are just cracks in the enamels. They don't impact the value a heck of a lot. And this one did pretty well. It brought $618. It was a nice example. Richwood's Fine Art had it. They're fairly new sellers. They only have 31 feedbacks, but it was a nice thing. And then a dealer we know out west had this up. Rather good, large Famille Vert screen, probably early 20th century, Republican sort of thing, with an inscription on it. Nice looking stand, and it was good size. I recall it was 20 or so inches tall, and about $2,730, which is a good result. And then this was sort of a bargain if you're not an absolute fanatic about condition. This is a very nice molded Kangxi plate with these sort of leaf-shaped panels running around the outside with the phoenix in the middle. Had hairlines. It's got a spider on the back. I'll share it with you here. Here it is. Here's the spider mark on the back, and runs over here and runs up over the rim. Of course, it's not extremely desirable with that condition. However, these plates, can sell for $800 to over $1,000, $1,200. This one only went for $125. So for somebody on a modest budget that wants to own a very beautiful, authentic thing, this was a nice buy. It was a good buy. And there was this. This was a very pretty Jiajing plate with a lotus center with ripe fruit in it, and it was a landscape scene depicting sort of court ladies and men wandering around. There's a boy bringing tea, a woman playing the flute, another lady with a fan, another lady with a flute, and so forth. There's a mark and period piece. There it is. Jiajing looks okay to me. And here's a detail of the faces. For those of you who like to look up the faces of these women to see if the dating is accurate, there's a book on it out there. You can do it. And it brought $639. It was a nice, very pretty plate. Nice Famille Rose. And then there was this pair of plates. Good-looking pair of early 18th century plates. I like the deep blue ground reversed out against light blue or a medium blue and the white center on it. That technique was actually developed during the Yuan period, something they used to do on big chargers. And I love the way they have the plants sort of growing outward in a row around the rim. Quite attractive. Here's the back of it. Again, typical back with a chop mark that doesn't mean anything. They just threw them on there. But they did pretty well. I think it was a good buy, though. Somebody bought the pair for $256. Go to New York City and try and buy them for that. They'd retail this pair out for about $800. And then our friend William over in London, in England, had this. This was a nice 16th, 17th century Tibetan bronze. Nice surface on this. This had a good surface. Good, honest, old surface. Lots of patination in there. Very pretty. It's not the most desirable of all the seated figures, but this was a nice one. Wasn't terribly big, but very good quality. And it did just fine. It brought $594. And moving along to these, this was that big pair. I hope you noticed these. These were really pretty. They're 19th century, done in the Kangxi style, but technically very well drawn. Mirrored pair, and there are lots of wonderful things on these vases. These beautiful tables. There's a couple of rootwood tables with Kangxi type planters and other blue and white vases with these beautiful flowers flowing out over the shoulder. Here's a side view, another table with a planter and this sort of interesting double gourd type vase here. Very pretty. You look at the bottom, clearly they're 19th century by that base. Same thing in here. Very nice, but top quality they appear to be. And they went for $5,100. These were pretty big, though. They were 17 inches. And decorators love these, especially once they get over 15 inches. 17, 18 inches, they're highly desirable. And our friend over in Italy, Clay and Brush, had this. This was a nice 18th century ghee-type celadon with a double crackle on it. You have the gold thread sort of crackle and the black crackle. Here's a picture of the bottom. There it is. That's what you want, a nice recessed bottom with that brown and amber crackled glaze. Here's a shot of the foot rim. You can see how the foot was shaped. Very pretty bowl. I like monochromes. And it did well. It brought $621. And next was this. This was the Rouge de Fur Chin-Lung bowl. Very finely painted. I happen to like these a lot, this coloration, the shades of reds and oranges with little hints of gold. Beautifully done. This was a wonderfully painted bowl and had some minor condition issues, as I recall. The interior had some wear to the enamels. Probably somebody put one of those plant frogs or something in it and scratched it up a bit, or overexcited cleaning lady at one point scrubbed it out with a Scotch-Brite pad. But at any rate, there it is. And it brought $619. It also had a hairline. That's right. I'm just noticing the reminder there that had a hairline in it. But really pretty bowl, and genuine as can be. And then there was this 18th century sort of Kangxi type vase jar. Might be Kangxi. I can't tell. It looked like it probably is, but they did these also very, very similarly well into the 18th century. Here's a side view of it with the sapphire blue rocks and all that business. And there's another side with the trees. Beautifully done, though. Nice jar. Had a spider crack in the shoulder, as I recall. I can't find that picture readily, but take my word for it. It had a spider crack in the shoulder, and it still brought $2,324. Without that crack, it probably would have brought over $5,000. And then there was this plate, rather nice, possibly Kangxi period, Famille Vert with the very famous, basket with the flowers in the center. And I know that a lot of you look at this. This is, it's probably Kangxi, but try to get over the idea that because they have this double track. Somebody once said to me, "Oh, it has the double track or the track on the foot. It has to be Kangxi." No, they did these well into the 18th century with this foot. Okay, I've seen them, and they did them in blue and white, and The only difference is that the Kangxi examples have the inner foot tends to be, I've noticed, slightly lower, but that double track is not always an indicator of Kangxi. Okay, it's an indicator of 18th century, but where and when in the 18th century varies. This one came from a good Dutch dealer. As you can see, there's a little bit of grinding here on the rim, probably from fritting. And if you see that, chances are it might be Kangxi also. But a beautiful example, a nice plate, and it brought $1,543. And coming up is this. This is belongs to actually a friend of mine up here in Massachusetts. Got this. This is a Wenho Chinese silver phone. I have never seen one of these. This is terrific. He got it out of a local estate, and very wonderfully done. There it is. It's inscribed. It was given to some Western ladies that were living in Shanghai, connected to the telecom over there, one of the early telecom companies. There's the silver maker's mark. Here's his name, Wenwo, and I have never seen one of these before. He called me a couple times about it, and it's out of an estate locally, and it's up to $755. It closes Sunday. So if you want a nice big sterling or Chinese silver phone with dragon handles to display, there you go. Certainly we're a lot more stylish than iPhones. And this is another piece that we just caught when we were coming in this morning. Is a nice late Ming plate from Clay and Brush. That'll be in the newsletter this week. Good looking thing. And if you missed it, we did a video yesterday on Christie's Asia Week because there's so much attention being paid to this incredible pair of Famille Rose butterfly double-gourd jars, those globular-shaped jars, and the story behind them. We did a video on it, and it's quite a story. It's a nice sale. Here's the video, and take a look at it. We also talked about some of the other things that are in the auction, but that's happening this coming Tuesday. And you can also watch it. Remember, if you log into Christie's, open a Christie's account, you can log in and you can watch it live on a feed. We're going to do something with that next week. All right. Well, thanks for visiting. Have a great weekend, everyone, and see you all next week. Okay. And we're going to get the newsletter out earlier this week. We're going to start trying to do it on Fridays so that folks can have more time to browse it over the weekend. And if you don't subscribe to us, do. We're here every week, and come over to BidAmount.com and take a look around. All right. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.